Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome back to the channel. It's a big weekend for Cardiff City fans. Today, as we're previewing a huge match as in terms of the championship season and how it goes forward at Sheff Wednesday. But there's more to the game than just what's going on the pitch, as it were. There's chaos behind the scenes at Cardiff. No one quite seems to know what's going on. It's been a pretty demoralising period, if I do say so myself, and it doesn't seem to be improving in any way. But we look forward to the game this evening. I've had to pre-record it tonight because I had a prior engagement, and to be honest with you, probably for the best, because I'm not a happy camper. And yeah, we'll leave the live show for Sunday because I got a feeling some stuff will have come out by then and I'll be allowed to talk about it. But there we go. There's 3 points separating Cardiff and Sheff Wednesday at the bottom half of the championship as before they go to battle at Hillsborough on the weekend. They both suffered defeats just before the international break, leaving Sheff Wednesday in 15th and Cardiff at 22nd. But there's only goal difference separating them from the relegation zone, effectively. So it's a difficult one. Sheff Wednesday will be looking to try and break up and push towards that middle half of the table. Cardiff are just trying to find some sort of consistency to move up the table. Both teams desperate for the points. Both teams got a few injuries. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how that progresses. Obviously, Omar Risa took over after Cardiff had an absolutely dismal start to the season. Been in temporary charge since September, with the Bluebirds sat at the bottom of the championship when he took over on 1 point from 5 games. But he was able to see a big improvement over a six-match unbeaten streak between early October and early November. That run produced the Bluebirds' first 4 victories of the season, all of which came on home turf before that streak ended with an away 1-0 loss to Luton, leaving them just 3 points from 7 games away from home. Definitely going to be a difficult one. I think overall, it's a winnable game for both teams. As is tradition with these previews, we'll kind of go with Sheff Wednesday first, and then we'll move on to the Bluebirds. But you've got to think behind the scenes and things like this. It has an impact, and I'm genuinely worried what's going to happen on the pitch tomorrow, because I don't think Omar Risa is happy, and from what I've heard, he's not being particularly secretive over that. But I don't know if that's definitely the case. But it's certainly a worry, and one that we don't need. You know, unfortunately, even after the good run that we've had, or the better run that we've had under Omar Risa, we are still technically in the relegation zone, even if it is by goal difference and things like this. So there's work to be done. There's a lot of fixtures now. There's no break until March. It's just football all the way through. And Cardiff City needs to have a good December to really make sure they're not involved in the relegation battle come the end of the season. This period now in December is going to be vital. Whether they are able to do that, it remains to be seen. They've been very good at times. They've been very poor at times. We seem to lack cohesiveness when Callum Robinson isn't at the forefront of our attacks. I don't think Chris Willock as a false 9 is the answer. Not that I actually believe a false 9 could be the system that works for us when Callum Robinson's not there. I'm just not sure that Chris Willock is the guy to do it. But that's another conversation for another day, I guess. And I might have a video out on that next week and how the false 9 could be the system for us. Because let's be honest, Mate or Kanga up front is not the answer. Isaac Davis is not ready. Callum Robinson is not fit at the moment. Hopefully he'd be fit for the weekend, but everything I've read would indicate not. In terms of Sheff Wednesday, they line up in a kind of 4-4-3-3, 4-1-4-1, really. They're relatively, solid at the back. They play some good stuff. but I think they lack, much like us, they lack a real goal scorer. They've got Ugbo up front, who hasn't scored a championship goal this season. After he had a very sort of bit of a purple patch when he first went to them last year from us, or via someone else, but you know what I mean. He has definitely got a knack for being in the right place at the right time, however, and that was something that we noticed straight away last year with Ugbo was, link up play, dribbling, whatever, maybe not going to get you goals out of nothing, but when the ball's ricocheting around the box and crosses are being put in, he does have a knack of just being in the right place at the right time to get those goals. Hasn't happened for him this year. No doubt it'll happen against Cardiff because that is the way Sod's Law worked, isn't it? So I think they'll go Beadle in goal, and then a back four of Valerie, Iorfa, Bernard, and Lowe. Shea Charles will play as the holder or the single pivot. Barry Bannon and Ingleson then as the two in front. Bannon he plays this weird role. It's not a free role and it's not a box to box. So he tends to drop in the spaces, but not the sort of number 10 spaces. And he will go in those spaces sometimes, but generally speaking, he'll drop in alongside Shea Charles to pick up the ball, dictate play. Even at his age now, he's a very, very good player. Someone who I wish Cardiff would have got a couple of years ago. I think he's got a lot to offer, but definitely doesn't have the legs. And I think, if Shea Charles is not at it in that midfield, that is an area which Cardiff can target because Barry Bannon hasn't got the legs. Ingleson is technically okay, decent, but he's not incredible for me. Windass on the right, Johnson on the left, both of whom I think are decent championship players. I quite like Windass. He was free in the summer. And then it's really whether, they go with Ugbo or Jamal Lowe. I think they'll go with Ugbo. That seems to be the norm. And then it's just an interesting one then because it'll be that 4-1-4-1. I think that suits Cardiff in terms of how we've set up recently. The key man for Sheffield Wednesday, I think, will be, I rate Windass. And if he plays off the right and we have Callum O'Dowda on the left, who tends to push forward a little bit, that might be an area where they can exploit us and get in behind down their right, our left, because Callum O'Dowda occasionally gets caught upfieldish, particularly if we lose the ball. So that could be an issue. But I think the man who makes them all tick is still Barry Bannon, rolling back the years. Technically excellent, a brilliant football brain, superb vision. And if you give him time on the ball, he will do damage. And this sort of plays into what I think Cardiff will do. Not necessarily what I think they should do, but I think what they will do with their midfield. But Barry Bannon, for me, if you can stop the ball getting into him, that's where everything comes through for Sheffield Wednesday. They will get it into him, and then he will try and release the Johnsons, the Inglesons, the Windasses, running in from deep or in wide areas to get that ball into Ugbo for the shots and the chances. So it'll be interesting to see how Cardiff go about trying to stop that. Ultimately, I don't think Sheffield Wednesday are reinventing the wheel. Their form has been a bit up and down. I mean, even if you just look at their last sort of 6 games from all competitions, they've lost 3, won 2, drawn 1. So really, in terms of form, Cardiff are in better form, but those last 2 games before the international break for Cardiff City were very, very poor. So it's something which they will need to do. It'll be one of those. I quite like Shea Charles. I think he's a decent player. And as I've mentioned, Barry Bannon. Cardiff have got many injury problems. Aaron Ramsey unlikely to be ready. Same with Joe Rawls. Kian Atete maybe on the bench. I'm not sure. I think Robinson's going to be out, which gives us a question to be answered up front. In terms of what I think we'll do, I think we'll change 1 or 2 things slightly. So I'm thinking we'll go Alnwick in goal, obviously. NG will be right back. I think Gutas starts definitely. If Chambers is fit, I think they'll bring him back in. If he's not, then Darland will come in, and Darland will get better as he gets up to match speed. He's been out for a bit and stuff, hasn't played a lot of football, so not worried about him. The left back area, this really depends what he goes for up front. I've been sort of saying for a while that I think El Ghazi could do with coming off the bench and having 20 minutes against tired defenders as opposed to an hour against fresh defenders. And I think one way you can do that is if you bring Bagan into left back and move O'Dowda up to left wing. Just gives you a bit more solidity on that left-hand side against Josh Windass, but also gets Callum O'Dowda further up the pitch on his left foot to put some crosses in, and then maybe El Ghazi can come off the bench and do something off the bench. I don't think that's what he'll do. I think he'll play O'Dowda left back, and we're going with the predicted 11, so what we think Omar Risa will do. So I think he will go with O'Dowda at left back. I think he will go with El Ghazi on the left wing. I think Tanner will play on the right. Colwell will play in the 10. I think he will probably play Willock as a false 9. Away game, if you're going to play a false 9, me personally, I'd put Ruben in the false 9 and Willock in the 10 with the personnel that we have. However, because it's an away game and due to some of the circumstances around what we've got to squad, I'd probably play Mate through the middle for this game with Ruben in the 10. That remains to be seen. In terms of midfield, I think we'll see Robertson come back in, and I think it'll be Siopis. I think they'll ask Siopis to do a job on Bannon, because I think ultimately if you can stop Bannon getting time and space and stop the ball getting to Bannon, I'm not as concerned about what Shea Campbell can do and Ingerson and stuff. So to me, he's the main danger man, and they haven't got a great deal of legs in there. So I think if you can get Siopis' legs in there and you can get Robertson in there, that's a good combination for this specific game. Ruben just in front, Tanner, and I would assume he'll play El Ghazi. If it was me, like I said, I'd contemplate playing Mate up front with the idea that you get players around him, because his link-up play is very good. He battles for the ball when he's up for it. He can hold the ball up. You can play off him. It's just his finishing that's really poor. Unfortunately, he's got no consistency in terms of his effort and things like that. Often, he doesn't always seem like his head is right. In terms of the man to watch or the key man for Cardiff, I think that'll be Alex Robertson. Came back from injury, which is another thing which I'll be talking about on Sunday, which has been a bit of a bone of contention. But yeah, he got injured for whatever reason, and then came back and wasn't able quite to implement his game and his form as much as he had done previously. So hopefully he'll be back on it after a little break. And a lot of these players have had a break. Even Ruben Colwell, who was away with Wales, didn't play a minute. So yes, he's been training to keep sharp, but he hasn't played. So hopefully some of those tired legs will be looking a bit better. Your NGs, your Tanners, El Ghazi, all these players who looked a bit leggy before the break will hopefully look refreshed and ready. And look, I think Sheffield Wednesday are perfectly beatable. Unfortunately, I worry, and it's just me, I worry that what's going on behind the scenes is going to have an effect on how these players turn up, because there's some players in this squad who've already shown that if things aren't right or they're not happy, they maybe don't have the effort levels required when they don't want to. Hopefully, they're still behind Omar Risa and they're happy, because when they are under Omar Risa, they've shown that they can play. They've shown that they can take teams apart in certain areas of the pitch. And this is what we need, we need to get at Sheffield Wednesday early. We need to start fast. We need to take our chances when we get them. I believe that if we can get an early goal, it could be quite a comfortable afternoon. Quieten the crowd down, keep hold of the ball early on, have a high press in in it as a unit and in numbers, wait for those trigger points like heavy touches and things like that, and then go as a team, win the ball back high, and get them while they're out of position. Get Ollie Tan around the back. Get Colwell in those little pockets of space. Get El Ghazi in. This is my one worry with play if they do go with Mate up front, is you've only really got Tanner who's going to run in behind. Ruben doesn't really break the lines with his runs off the ball, and El Ghazi doesn't really either break the lines. So you've got no one, maybe Robertson from deep, but like no one who's going to break those lines, which is another reason why I could see him sticking with that false nine. But it's also another reason why I'd play O'Dowda on the left-hand side to allow the width and the pace down the sides of the pitch and then get the ball in the box that way. My prediction for the game, I said on Rodriguez on Football Show yesterday over on the other channel, 1-0 Cardiff. I'm going to stick with that. I do think that with a bit of a break, some of these players will be really up for it. They'll be bang up for it. We've played well in patches over this 6-game period for Omar Risa. If this is to be his last game, no idea if it will be or not. If this is to be his last game, he will want to go out with a good performance and a good result to kind of make his point. And looking forward, Cardiff need to pick up points. They need to pick up wins. So this is the game to start it. And it's a very winnable game. Cardiff have got to win football matches, regardless of who the manager is, regardless of what the board are doing, regardless of what the owner is doing. Doesn't matter. The players, the fans have got to get on the same page, got to get behind the players, and we've got to just move forward as a football club and as a football team. We have to move forward, and we have to. December has to be a big month for us, because if it's not, we are bang in trouble, and I'll tell you that for nothing. However, I still believe we've got a good enough squad to have a good December and then move on for the rest of the season and get right up there. But we've got to play, and they've got to play as a unit, and they've got to play as a team, get the ball to the important players in the important areas. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think Omar Risa's starting lineup will be. Who's the key man? What do you think the score will be? And will this be Omar Risa's last game? Tell me what you think. Cheers.